Talks Retail Fast 5, brought to you in partnership with the A&M Consumer and Retail Group, Firework, SPS Commerce, and Sezzle. Ranked in the top 10% of all podcasts globally, the Retail Fast 5 is the podcast that we hope makes you feel a little smarter, but most importantly, a little happier each week too. Today is September 14th, 2023. I'm your host, Ann Mazinga.
And I'm Chris Walton.
And we are here once again to discuss the most important headlines from the past week that highlight how the physical, digital, and human elements of retail are coming together to shape the future. Chris, hello, my fellow world traveler. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Ann. Yes. I was actually just putting together tomorrow's newsletter, and I wrote about how it's been a busy week because we were in Chicago yesterday.
I guess doing that's not world travel, but it just feels like there's been a lot of travel. Yeah.
It sometimes feels like the world, doesn't it, Ann? It does. The world's on our shoulders. Yes. But no, we were in Chicago yesterday doing a live Fast 5 in front of and for the Peapod Labs digital team yesterday. Yes. Great group of people.
Yeah.
Shout out to Brenda Allen-Toon, who, by the way, I learned, Ann, that she did not like my flat-brimmed hat choice from a few weeks ago, the Cubs hat. She likes it when I wear a more rounded cap. So if she's watching today, this new Stanford hat that I procured is just for you. And shout out to all my Stanford listeners like Jonathan Aiken and all those guys too. So yeah.
This hat's for you, Brenda. This hat's for you,
Brenda.
Yeah.
That's right. That's a good saying. I like that.
Yeah. She's not alone in that sentiment, Chris. As I've told you multiple times, I don't think the flat bill is your go-to. That's not going to be your signature.
No, I kind of concur with it too. I don't think a flat bill works for me. It makes me look like I'm like in junior high school. But yeah, and then the other thing that happened to me this week that I wanted to share too, I went to the mall this weekend, and I was at the mall at like 11:30. The first by the way, for context, the first indoor shopping mall in the history of the United States, which is right down from our house, Southdale Mall. I went in there at 11:15 on a Sunday morning, and the whole thing's closed. There isn't one store open. I think Macy's might have been open, but none of the interior specialty retail shops were open. Apple might have been open too, but nothing else was open. And it just blew my mind. I'm like, how have we gotten to the point where I can't shop in a mall on Sunday? I mean, you were like, yeah, I knew that, but
yeah, she's looking a little, she's looking a little toe up. That's for sure. Yeah. She's not quite the beauty that she used to be with the monkey menagerie and all the things. It's hard out there for a Southdale Mall. It
is. And the first thing I thought of was like, oh my God, you know who wins from this is like Walmart and Target. Like people that just want to get their Sunday chores done and get stuff done. I mean, they're just going to get more traffic from that. So I'm curious to see. So I'm going to ask Ethan, our friend Ethan Chernovsky of Placer AI, when he's on the show with us here in a few weeks, because we're going to talk to him, I think in October, late October, about the trends he's seeing. And I'm curious if he's seeing any daytime shopping shifts out of malls based on them just being open and whatnot, in his data that he has around traffic. So yeah, you check that out. We've been putting a lot of flyers out on that in our newsletter and of course on social media too. You can find it on LinkedIn, but yeah, register for that. He's going to do the top 5 biggest trends that store traffic, or top 5 biggest takeaways that store traffic data tells us from the past year.
I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, it should be pretty sweet.
I want him to test your hypothesis, but Chris, we have more important news to discover.
Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Yes,
that was my rendition of like the football hype music. Is that even close? Is that the right sport? Am I in the right world?
I actually have no idea what you're doing. It sounded like the bastard love child of Rocky with the Mashgin fighting.
Like that one. It's like that's the entrance to the football music, right?
Yeah. I know what song you're singing, but I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well,
actually, the reason entrance song.
The reason I'm singing that, or trying my best to sing that, is because next week is the Super Bowl of retail. We got a big week next week.
Yes, it is. Before we get to the headlines, Ann, loyal OmniTick fans, as Ann just mentioned, we are days away, literally days, Ann, like 4 days, I think, from 4 or 5, from the most anticipated grocery event of the year, and that is Grocery Shop. It's almost here. I can't believe it, Ann. It literally is my favorite show, Ann. I was thinking about that this morning. This is my favorite show, without a doubt. Doors open next Tuesday for 3 days filled with incredible content, networking opportunities, and of course, tons of fun. And now with over 50 sessions and an impressive lineup of 170 plus speakers, of which Ann and I are both included in that 175 number. Ann and I totally get it that it's impossible for any single attendee to catch everything, but fear not, loyal OmniTalk fans, because Ann and I have an awesome plan. We're going to be teaming up with Grocery Shop's very own Ben Miller, the director of original content, and Raquan Lucas, the VP of content, to make sure you don't miss a beat. And here's how we're doing it. We're kicking it up a notch this year. We're turning this recap on stage into a live podcast recording right there on the stage. Yes, with us. We're the podcast hosts, Ben and Raquan in the house. The very last stage presentation of the show hosted by Ann and myself. It's going to be insightful, entertaining, and all around fantastic. You can bet we're going to have a ton of fun doing it too. We can't wait to dive into the most important trends and topics happening in the grocery ecosystem. And guess what? You still have a chance to be a part of this incredible experience. Yes, you can still get your tickets. Just head to groceryshop.com/OmniTalk. That's groceryshop.com/OmniTalk and grab your last minute ticket. And are your bags packed yet? Do you know what you're going to wear?
No, I'm getting help today. My friend and loyal OmniTalk listener, Ann Marshik, is coming to help me coordinate some things because I have not been dedicating enough time, nor have I been home enough to have any idea. And let's just be real, Chris. Our plans, our cutting plans to get in fighting shape for the Super Bowl of retail grocery shop next week, they didn't work out so well.
No, they
didn't.
Too
much going on.
Yeah, no, they did it. Yeah. The LBs are a little strong with this one this year. No. And truth be told, that's why I was at the mall last week too. Was trying to get some outfits for the show. So I got some new duds. Had to go somewhere else, but got it squared away. All right, Ann, let's get this show on the road. In today's Fast Five, we've got news on Kroger hitting the brakes on automated micro-fulfillment, IKEA's maze-like store design and the love its shoppers apparently have for it, convenience retailer Couche-Tard, if I'm saying that correctly, and Mashgin, the official launch of TikTok Shop. But we begin today with big news on the delivery front out of Walmart. Ann.
Yes, Chris. Headline number one, Walmart has added nighttime hours, real-time texting to express delivery options. They're working on the night moves. You know that song? Bob Seger, right?
Yeah,
is that Bob Seger?
Yes. I think so. Yeah, I think so. I do know that song. Yes.
Okay. I'm going to sing every headline. I'm going to get it in on every headline. Just kidding. I won't. All right. According to the great Dan Berthium of Chain Store Age, Walmart will now offer its express delivery service until 10 p.m. on orders that are placed by 9:30 p.m. at 4,000 stores across the U.S., with delivery happening in as little as 30 to 90 minutes. And in addition, Walmart has also added another new express delivery feature, one in which customers can now engage in real-time text communication with a personal shopper to discuss substitutions or if they want to add any items last minute. The express delivery service costs $10 on top of the existing delivery charge, which ranges from $7.95 to $9.95 if you are not a Walmart Plus customer. Chris, what are your thoughts on this? The night moves?
The night moves from Walmart
would say, and the texting moves. Like this has got like maybe like Hotline Bling and Night Moves in a mashup song for this, because we're adding live texting and chatting. And we're adding late night delivery. What could possibly go wrong, Chris? Tell me more, please.
Oh my God. And hopefully the audience isn't confused already. My God. Oh my God. You're in rare form today, my friend. Oh my God. Road weary traveling indeed.
Yes.
All right. So my take on this is I'm far less interested in the late night delivery as I am in the text-based engagement. I think that's the much cooler part of this story. Sure, if people want to pay insane amounts to have their products delivered late to them, which it looks like from what you read is like upwards of $17 to actually make this happen, then yeah, go for it. And Walmart, yeah, experiment till the cows come home, because it seems like a really no risk experiment to see if there's demand at that time of the day. But the real beauty for me is, like I said before, it's that they're experimenting with text add-ons to the orders. So that makes the idea of I forgot this or I want to add this to my order easier in the long run. It calls to mind what we talked about with Peapod Digital Labs yesterday when we talked about Target at curbside pickup, how they're doing the add-on for coffee and other items from Starbucks. And we eventually see that going into other things as well, because there's plenty of things you forget when you do your curbside order and you're there in the parking lot, you still want something. And so this capability is going to enable that. And so for that reason, and it gets them into kind of dipping their toes into text-based commerce again, which has also been something that we've been big on and talked about on the show a lot. So for those reasons alone, I love it a lot.
So I think it's interesting. You're going to go into the text commerce. I agree with you on that point. I have to hit on the late night delivery stuff. I understand here as Walmart why you're testing this. It makes sense. You need to keep the drivers on your Spark platform at full capacity, and this gives a few more hours to offer those workers on the Spark platform, the gig workers who are doing these deliveries later in the evening. But the key thing I point out here, it's 30 to 90 minutes. 90 minutes?
Yeah, that was kind of interesting.
You mean to tell me if your kid's sick at night and you need something from Walmart, which is one of the use cases that they point out in this press release, I'm sorry. I can get to the closest Walmart, Target, whatever 24-hour grocery store is near me and get that thing in under an hour. Like if it's going to take me 90 minutes and it's going to cost me $17, that is not a value proposition for, I think, the average person who may engage in this service. Plus, you've got services out there like DoorDash who,
just thinking that
for these specific items, there's nothing that the DoorDash Dash Mart couldn't bring me if I have my Dash Pass, which I do, in a shorter amount of time, within 30 minutes. That Walmart, that gives there's no reason for me to go to Walmart here, is I guess what I'm saying. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Point.
I do like the text delivery though. I think anything you can do to like get in and add to basket or to increase that basket size, it makes a ton of sense here.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, to your point, if they're thinking about more like food and that type of thing than the traditional like health needs at the end of the night. Because it's going to be because otherwise, you just go to DoorDash and go to like get whatever they can. But maybe they're thinking the stores aren't going to be open, so there's a play for them there. I don't know. Maybe people got the munchies more often now, and lots more people legalizing. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's keep rolling. Headline number 2. Kroger is not just slowing down, Ann. Let me say that correctly. Not just slowing down. It is hitting the brakes altogether on its plans to further automate its fulfillment centers and its overall operation. According to Grocery Dive's Sam Silverstein, one of our favorites, second week in a row, we've mentioned his work. Kroger is holding off on the development of new facilities until it is confident existing sites are performing up to expectations. Kroger CEO Rodney McMullen said that, quote, all energy is focused, end quote, on the Ocado sites already in operation, and that, quote, we're making progress, but we wouldn't be to the point where we would start focusing on additional sheds, interesting term, until we make sure that we have a clear path on the ones we have, end quote. Ann, are you surprised by this news? And do you like that they are shedding potentially their sheds, or at least slowing down their sheds?
I love calling them sheds. I feel like you're in the know. If you're calling them sheds, you are in the biz. Like that is great. I did notice that call out in the article too. But I mean, okay, am I surprised by this? A little, I guess, but because they went so hard into building these and talking about the hub and spoke models and like going aggressively into South Florida where they didn't have stores and they're going to be doing like delivery only grocery fulfillment, but it's expensive. Like that's never been that's never been a mystery to anybody. Like these micro fulfillment centers, while efficient, they take a lot of upfront capital, and that's just not something that a lot of grocery retailers can handle right now. And I wonder, this was very successful in the UK where Ocado started with this, but now once you're even with the hub and spoke models that they feel, it seemed like they were very strategic about setting up, like you still have much further distances to travel. There's a lot of costs in that last mile. And I think that's, to me, where it makes sense that they're saying like, pause, hold, let's just regroup here. Let's figure out what makes sense. What can we use like in our stores? What can we do to kind of adapt and change this for the US market versus some like high density area like the UK?
Yeah, I mean, this story to me, and I like a lot of the points you just said, and I'm going to expand upon them too. Like, I think it's absolutely a fascinating story. Like, and it's kind of like, whoa, like when you sent this to me, I think my text back to you was, whoa, like I did the Joy Lawrence, whoa, that I always do, when these stories come out. And I had fun thinking about like, okay, why could Kroger be doing this? Why is this the state of micro fulfillment at Kroger? And here's what I came up with, Anne. I think you'll like this, in ascending order of likelihood. Okay.
Okay.
So stay with me now. I'll get through
I'm
this. So one, maybe, and this goes to your point, actually, maybe the Ocado tech isn't all that it's cracked up to be. And the idea of centralized, large-scale automated fulfillment doesn't pay that many dividends because you don't have the last mile savings, which is what you said, right? So that's one. Two, with the merger of Albertsons, where they've gone in a different direction with Takeoff in the past and how they're going to do micro fulfillment on site. Maybe the results of that are different, and Kroger leadership wants to pause to assess which path is the right path going forward following the merger. It's possible.
Great point. Yeah.
Or three, which I think is the most likely thing, as Kim Beaudry of Dematic said on our podcast recently, and she's far more expert on this than either one of us. So this is why I'm hedging my bets towards this of the three. The ROI for micro fulfillment for grocery isn't there yet, and the capital is relatively too expensive and too inflexible to deploy at this time, not knowing what the needs are in terms of how the US market is going to continue to want to fulfill their groceries online. So like I said, my bet is on the last one, because when I step back, it is pretty fascinating to me that you have a company who is big at selling micro fulfillment automation in Dematic. You have someone from that company on our podcast basically saying that market is drying up. Like, when has that ever happened, Ann? Like, that never happens on a podcast. So if you haven't listened to that podcast, go back. It came out like 2 weeks ago. Fascinating, because she talked about this and kind of predicted that it was going to happen. So that's why I think that's the most likely scenario here.
Yeah, and Kim, she was like our most listened to podcast for a while the last time she was on too. Yeah. So make sure to check that out. I love the point too, Chris, about the Kroger and Albertsons merger too, and like them looking at like what's going on, what makes sense here. Like, ooh, I don't know.
I'm afraid I'm giving them too much credit on that one. But anyway.
All right, Chris, let's move on to headline number 3. According to the Wall Street Journal, IKEA shoppers want their maze back, Chris. They want it back. They want their maze back. Their maze back. Their maze back. They
Holy
want their
Hannah.
Maze back, their maze back. Their maze back. Apparently, Katie Dayton, the Wall Street Journal reporter, said that IKEA over the past 5 years has opened new urban stores that diverge from the typical IKEA store experience, that guide customers on a winding course through showrooms devoted to different parts of the home. But based on customer interviews and feedback surveys, IKEA found that many shoppers craved the guiding hand of the original IKEA store design. And so IKEA is consequently redesigning the floor plans and signage of its downtown locations to make them look more like those of its larger out-of-town stores. Chris, this is also the put you on the spot question from our friends at A&M.
Ooh.
Here it is.
Okay.
A&M says this was a fascinating experiment, and results coming from IKEA on store layout and customer and consumers wanting more guidance in their shopping experience. What practical lessons, Chris, should other retailers take from this, regardless of the size of the box?
Oh my gosh, that is such a good question, Anne. I love this because I love when they ask me a question where I can just be as blunt as F. Like, I just love it, because the lesson should be in, and I firmly believe what I'm about to say, and I know I'm going to take a lot of flack for this on social media. The customer isn't always right.
Okay.
That is my takeaway here. Because I said that because when you're taking feedback on what can be improved, there are always things that can be improved. But whether a customer, all things being equal, actually wants them improved at the end of the day is a different story. So it's very open to interpretation. The customer ultimately is always right at the end of the day, but the customer is not always right in what they're telling you. So as much as I hate, quite honestly, loathe the IKEA layout, I've been on record as saying it's the seventh circle of hell. I too do not want it to go away, because it is functional in how it operates. It's for lack of a better way to put it, I was talking about this in the airport yesterday. I think it's organized by room. It's like by room on steroids, with major vignettes along the way through the entire shopping experience. And that's one, because people want to be inspired, and two, because they want help in seeing what goes together, because they're thinking about their specific decorating needs as they shop. Because you go to IKEA when you need a big shopping trip. You don't go there to like peck and hunt certain items. You go there when you have a job to get done. That's why it's so big. That's why there's so many people there every week. And that is my opinion on why that design works. And so all of which is summed up best by, I think, IDEO, which is the best research never ever beats live trial and error. And as IDEO founders used to say, enlightened trial and error beats enlightened planning every time. And that's what you see here. They tried this out in their new stores and they realized it didn't work. So they're going away from it. So, hey, cool. No skin off the back. Let's go back to what we know works well.
I'm gonna disagree with you a bit here.
Okay.
I think that your same point about the customer is not always right could also be applied to the recent research that they've done saying that the customers don't want the maze. I think you need to dig a little bit deeper into this because
fair point.
You ask customer interceptions, while valuable, can also, like, if you ask somebody exactly what they want, they're going to tell you what they think that they want. And maybe that's not always right. So I think that the happy solution here for IKEA is somewhere in the middle, which it sounds like they're starting to do. Like they're taking the stores and maybe not just being like a showroom for different rooms like they have in the urban stores right now. But I think it's some kind of happy medium. I also think you have to think about the revenue that's been lost in these stores
100%.
And that headline, because that, I think, like, IKEA can come out and be like, no, it's our customers that wanted it. It's not that we were losing revenue because you don't have to wind through the whole maze.
So you think there's subterfuge at play here, Ann? Is that what you're saying?
I do. I totally do.
Wow.
I think that what needs to happen, and I do believe that IKEA is doing this, is what purpose does your store serve? You said this yesterday in our Peapod Fast Five. Like, the consultant answer to A&M's question is, it depends. What type of shopping trip are you on? And I think that for these small format IKEAs, I still like the idea that you can order online and use this as a pickup destination. So I think it's figuring out like what part of the store needs to be picked up, because there are scenarios where you do just want that picture frame. You do just want some of those things. And that's why pickup at IKEA has been so successful. The curbside pickup or the waiting in line pickup has been so successful. Or you're doing product returns. So I think that is should still be a focus. But I do think that, it depends on what journey your customers are on. Sometimes you're going to IKEA and you want the Instagram discovery experience. Sometimes you want the Amazon seek and destroy experience, where you got two things that you need to replace, or you need a light bulb for your Fliegenblaven lamp, and you need to go get that. So I think that right now, they need to figure out what's the right format for these urban stores, the right combination of maze plus seek and destroy, like order fulfillment pickup.
Got it. Yeah, that's interesting. I still think at the end of the day that IKEA is about getting the chore done. You move into a new house, it's the place you go to get everything you need as quickly as possible. And that's how these stores have to be designed. Your point about maybe this is subterfuge is really interesting, though. All right, let's keep on rolling. Headline number 4, Couche-Tard president and CEO Brian Hanisch said on a recent quarterly earnings call that its new smart checkout system is helping the retailer to control costs. According to Brett Dworsky of C-Store Dive, shout out to the Dworsky, since debuting its smart
He is not
checkout,
okay with that.
Yeah, well, he might be. He sounds like a cool guy. He sounds like, it sounds like that old Chicago Bears skit from Saturday Night Live. Brett the Dworsky of C-Store Dive. Since debuting its Smart Cart program in June 2022, Couche-Tard has brought the platform to 2,200 stores across North America, and 40% of in-store payments at these sites run through these self-service stations. These stations were developed by checkout technology company Mashgin, and the platform uses computer vision to recognize consumers' items once they are placed onto a tray and automatically rings them up. And I fought with you to include this story. Why were you so reticent on its inclusion?
I think because when I read the story, they were focusing so much on the labor correlation to why these things are valuable in store. And I think that, yes,
that's actually why I like it. But yeah,
there's
go ahead.
Probably some savings there. And I actually got to see these firsthand when I visited the Couche-Tard, as it's pronounced in French, at the McGill lab when I was visiting Carl Boutet up in Montreal. But I think the most important thing to note here, and the reason that this should be included and why I finally conceded, was that convenience stores must be convenient. Waiting in line to check out is not convenient. So scanning each individual item, not properly placing item in bagging area, like not convenient. Okay. The solution from Mashgin does speed things up tremendously, whether that's me doing self-checkout or that's somebody in, who's using self-checkout as a checkout associate. It's just simpler. It makes things faster. So I think that is where the benefits of this Mashgin self-checkout and the benefit and why Couche-Tard is rolling this out to more locations makes sense and should be part of the podcast today. But you really like the labor savings part of it.
Wow. Did you say you just came around? Is that what happened here?
I did. I told you I conceded. I was like, yeah, that's fine. I don't agree with the Dworsky here that labor savings should have been the headline on this. I think this technology is the it's just working. It's faster. It gets people in and out, makes the convenience store more convenient.
I'm going to throw some support Brad's way too, because actually I think it's, first of all, it's great to see you being so magnanimous in that. And it's always a great,
Brett. His name is Brett.
Conversation.
Brett, not Brad.
Oh, it's Brett. Oh, okay. Brett.
The
Dworsky.
Yeah.
Did I mess that up before? Brett. Yes. Sorry. So yeah, but anyway, I actually think the labor savings is key, because that's what the CEO is talking about publicly, and that's the value he's getting from this. But the other reason this headline is important to me is it shows that the applications of computer vision are still being understood. We've talked about smart carts, we've talked about just walk out technology, but keep in mind what I'm about to say. None of these things are mutually exclusive either. They can all be deployed together in the long run too. But the Mashgin concept is one we haven't talked at all about really in a really long time. It's probably been a few years. And so, like I said, you have a CEO here at a large scale retailer that's publicly saying 40% of its transactions are happening via Mashgin's technology, and it's driving operational savings. So then you have to ask yourself how. Well, the how to me, and this is why I think the operational part is important, is because it's making the checkout process quicker and faster. People are probably likely putting their products on the reader, and the items get automatically run up. So the store employee doesn't have to scan all of them. If 40% of the transactions are happening that way, I have to infer that this is what he's talking about. This is what the CEO is referring to, which is important because ultimately the same idea could be applied to traditional grocery store lanes, where instead of the cashier ringing everything up, she just puts it all through and then it gets bagged up. Or even the self-checkout lanes, you just come, put it there, just like it's happening in the Couche-Tard stores, and then you put it in the bag, right? It rings it up really quickly. You don't have to do anything. And so that ultimately means two things. It means less errors, and it means quicker throughput, and ultimately less cashiers and less payroll too, because one associate can do more in less time. So that's why I think this is important. And it's cool in the conversation and context of how computer vision is still going to shape retail, and we don't know the answers yet. That's why I wanted to include it today.
Yeah, I like the computer vision angle of it. I still think the part that's still not clear is whether it's self-checkout versus associate checkout, and how many associates do you still need to have? Yes, you can have one associate for multiple self-checkout lanes. This makes it simpler, but we'll see. I've came around, Chris.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And so Brett, if you're listening, we'd love to see the follow-up to see how they're actually using this and deploying it in those stores to get this operational savings. It'd be great to know.
All right, Chris, let's take it home. Headline number 5, TikTok Shop has officially launched in the US. After much ado, and according to TechCrunch's Ivan Mehta, TikTok this week debuted new features, including a dedicated shop tab on the home screen, live video shopping, shoppable ads, and affiliate programs for creators. Creators can tag products to make it easier for users to buy things from in-feed videos and live videos, and brands can make their own product portfolios, which can be accessible from their profile pages. Chris, thoughts?
Yes, Ann. My thoughts on this. I mean, I'm glad to see TikTok got to this point. I mean, that's kind of my big takeaway. I mean, we ranted about this, or I did particularly months ago now. It feels like a year ago almost, but still makes me sad to think about all the talent that was wasted at Meta when it just up and abandoned this whole concept, the whole concept of social commerce. And now TikTok's doing it with much better roots in how it should be done from what they know about how it works overseas in China. Now, how it's going to work in the US ultimately come down to the user experience and the control retailers and brands are willing to give over to the platform. But make no mistake, Ann, TikTok is a juggernaut. You say it in our circles and ears automatically perk up. People want to go, ooh, what's that person talking about TikTok? I want to understand how to use TikTok better. We're doing an event in a few weeks where we're talking about how to manage your assets within the TikTok age. And TikTok is causing that. And we've seen a great explosion in that. You should check that out too. It's with Binders, Director of Sales and Field and Marketing. So we're going to be talking about that as well. But so I think you got to watch this closely. And the other point I'd make too, and to close it up for me is, if you're Amazon, you got to be worried about this a little bit, because if it works, it's going to cut into your sales. And also, if you think about what we talked about last week, it also highlights why Buy with Prime and the Shopify partner is potentially a defensive strategy against this, or at least a potential offset against it, getting a cut of the traffic and the volume that happens through the Shopify vendors on TikTok's platform. At least Amazon's saying, if you can't beat them, join them.
Yep. That's a great observation. I mean, I think that the question for me is, can TikTok do what Instagram couldn't in this space? And I think that the biggest differentiator here is that the next generation of shopper, Gen Z and beyond, they are using TikTok for search. They are not going to Amazon as frequently. They are going to go type in Charlotte Tilbury eyeshadow palette, and now they're able to see shopping results for that. Now, previously, there's a lot of competition in the space. There's a lot of knockoff product. There's a lot of room for brands to actually get in here, create their own brand pages on TikTok, which many of them haven't started yet. At least I wasn't able to see online when I was checking. So this is something that we'll kind of see develop as this matures in the coming months. But biggest thing is, you're able to do search and discovery here. You're able to either one, whether you want to just scroll through your feed and look and then buy right from there, or if you want to like actually go and execute and say, hey, I want this palette, I'm going to buy it right now. The thing I still wonder about, which is great that you're bringing up the Buy with Prime and Shopify, you're still paying with third-party payments for this, which I think could be a challenge in the US market. You're not going directly to the brand sites in all of these scenarios to make payments. So I still think for brands, it may be important to either create the brand page and take them onto a one-to-one connection with their consumers, so that the consumers are going 100%. To them to pay versus paying in TikTok, even though it's a little bit of a disjointed experience. But I think that that's going to be the kind of linchpin here to the success of this, is what happens with the transaction once you're buying. Because I'm not big on the TikTok payment, I gotta say.
Yeah, that's right. You're right. And that's why we've long said or advocated for and that's why I mentioned the point about control. The retailer should be working with technology companies like Lucky to make sure that those ads that are served up are then taking people back to the website, understand the inventory of the retailer or the brand that's selling the product, and that you can close the deal that way. 100% great point.
All right, let's go to the lightning round. Chris,
all right, let's do it.
Target's latest shop and shop is Kendra Scott for Target. Of all the jewelry in the world, Chris, what item should they prioritize as a hero product? What do you like to see on Mrs. Omnitalk? Like, do you have a favorite piece of jewelry?
I love that you ask me these questions, because I have no idea, Ann. I have absolutely no idea about this. I mean, I'm trying to think about it from a merchandising perspective. I mean, I would probably, prioritize whatever you think you're going to sell the most of, which to me, I don't know the category that well. I would guess the necklaces are the most accessible.
I'm more asking from what do you prefer? Like, what's your favorite piece of jewelry to buy? Is it necklaces? Like, is that, if you're getting something from Mrs. Omnitalk, is it a necklace?
D, none of the above, Ann. All right, Coke released a new AI-created beverage, Coca-Cola Y3000, which is meant to taste like Coke, but also has a hint of flavors meant to connote the future. And what flavors do you most associate with the future?
Oh man, I guess I'm going like charcoal, silver. It's like all elements. Like, I don't know why, but I just am like thinking of like, it's not about flavor anymore. It's just about like, elemental flavors and materials. So nothing good that I want to drink. But then again, I don't know. I'm not chugging Coca-Cola either. So, Chris, Walmart is working on a new cart design, adding cup and phone holders, and they've even made the handles slightly taller for people like you who are taller. What other feature would you add to your ideal shopping cart?
Yeah, I saw the story of that. I didn't actually look at the cart yet. I did see it real quick. It did look super tall, which looked kind of awkward. But I mean, for me, I mean, literally, I can't go grocery shopping with my two kids because they're always hitting each other. So I want a cart where I can strap them in on each side, like a papoose board for each of the kids, and just literally strap them and drive them around so they can't move. Because that's the only way I can get my shopping done without like losing my mind. And they drive me nuts. All right, this is a good one. A shiny golden orb of unknown origin was recently discovered 2 miles deep in the Pacific Ocean. And my question for you to close this out is, what is your favorite orb?
The only orb I could think of, because we just saw it yesterday, is the bean in Chicago.
Oh, the giant metallic bean?
Yeah.
Is that technically an orb? Because it's not circular. I don't know.
Oh, I guess
bean
not.
Are beans orbs?
Oh,
Talk fans, let us know if a bean is also an orb.
I have no idea.
I don't know
Clearly, I don't
that.
know my orbs from my beans. What? I mean, my orb.
I don't know. I don't know
orbs from beans. Yeah, I don't know. That was again shiny metallic silver. That was the theme of my answers today, apparently. For the morning.
God, did you get a filling or something? Like, what happened to you this week? All right, well, happy birthday today to Andrew Lincoln, Faith Ford, and the man who can hopefully help me put an end to this podcast in warp speed, Mr. Chekhov himself, the great Walter Koenig, who turns, believe it or not, Ann, 87 years old today. Shout out to Chekhov. And remember, if you can only read or listen to one retail blog in the business, make it OmniTalk, the only retail media outlet run by two former executives from a current top 10 U.S. retailer. Our Fast Five podcast is the quickest, fastest rundown of all the week's top news. And our twice weekly newsletter tells you the top 5 things you need to know each day. And also features special content exclusive to us, and we do it all just for you. And we try really hard to make it all fit within the preview pane of your inbox. You can sign up today at www.omnitalk.blog. Thanks as always for listening in. Please remember to like and leave us a review wherever you happen to listen to your podcast or on YouTube. And YouTube is the best way to watch our podcast, and because you get our unique video styling. So until next week, and on behalf of all of us at OmniTalk Retail, be careful out there.
The OmniTalk Fast Five is brought to you in association with the A&M Consumer and Retail Group. The A&M Consumer and Retail Group is a management consulting firm that tackles the most complex challenges and advances its clients, people, and communities toward their maximum potential. CRG brings the experience, tools, and operator-like pragmatism to help retailers and consumer products companies be on the right side of disruption. And Firework. Firework is the largest video commerce solution built for the world's leading brands. They empower brands with shoppable and live stream video on their own websites where people like to shop. Put your commerce in motion with Firework. Find out more at firework.com. And SPS Commerce. SPS Commerce is redefining how businesses across the supply chain operate in an omni-channel world. Their experts, tech, and data work together to fuel your growth and deliver for your customers. To find out more, head to spscommerce.com. And finally, Sezzle. Sezzle is an innovative buy now, pay later solution that allows shoppers to split purchases into 4 interest-free payments over 6 weeks. To learn more, visit Sezzle.com.